I hate being a black woman. Growing up, I always heard phrases like black girls stick together and black girls must always support each other. It was repeated by my mother, my aunts, the women at church. I used to believe it was a fact of life, something to hold on to, a source of strength. After all, we were supposed to be a sisterhood, bound by shared experience, unbreakable and united. But over time, reality set in, and I realized that those words were more like a slogan than a truth. Because in reality, black women were always expected to compete, even with each other. We were taught, even if subtly, to pick ourselves up by tearing someone else down. And the pain of that, of seeing sisters become rivals, was almost unbearable. What hurt the most was that this wasn't just something we faced from the outside world. Inside our own communities, there was this quiet, simmering rivalry. Black women turning against each other, competing over who was prettier, who was more desirable, who was more feminine. The world already scrutinized every part of us, but it stung deeper when it came from someone who understood that struggle. It felt like a betrayal, a break in the bond I had thought would hold us up against the world. Every time a black woman talked down to me or cut me off or saw me as a rival, it felt like a small piece of my identity chipped away. And then there were the men, some black men, not all, but enough to leave a scar, who dedicated their energy to tearing black women down. It was like they saw us as their personal target practice. The things they'd say. Black women are loud, black women are masculine, or the one that made my stomach twist. Other women are just better. They never failed to bring up another race of women as the supposed gold standard, as if our value as black women was always in comparison and always somehow lacking. It was even worse when it came from black men who had mothers, sisters, aunts, women who looked just like us, women who raised them, supported them. They didn't even see the irony of it. They couldn't see that their words hurt the very women who were their own reflections. But the real gut punch came with skin tone. The paper bag test wasn't just some distant historical anecdote, it was real in my life. A game that classmates would play as though my skin was some sort of spectacle. I was called Blackie Shadow, and even dirt the first time someone reached out to wipe my skin, as if expecting my complexion to come off like dust. I remember feeling shocked, humiliated. I wasn't that dark, but it didn't matter. The darker you were, the more you'd be judged, the more people wanted to question your worth. I thought maybe it was just a phase, just some childish ignorance, but as I grew older, the insults and the exclusions only became sharper, more insidious. To this day, I can't forget how people would try to fix me with bleaching creams, with harsh soaps that stung my skin. Lighten up a little, they'd say, as if my natural tone wasn't good enough, as if I'd be better if I could wash away some part of myself. And when it wasn't a stranger saying it, but my own community, my own people, it felt like an attack on my very existence. The world around us seemed to set a standard. Black women were always supposed to come last, to take on the struggle without a shred of sympathy or understanding. And if you were dark-skinned, society had a way of making you feel like love, kindness and happiness were luxuries you didn't deserve. And, God forbid, you tried to step out of line, to be a black woman who wanted things for herself, who wanted success, respect, autonomy. It was like the more independent you were, the less worthy you were seen to be. Even within our own communities, it was a double-edged sword. If you relied on a man, you were criticized for needing a crutch. If you did everything on your own, you were too strong or intimidating. It was like we were caught in a constant balancing act, trying to be everything to everyone and always failing to meet someone's expectations. And the saddest part, there were times when I almost believed the things people said about me. I'd catch myself wondering if maybe I was too loud, too bold, too dark, too independent, if maybe I really wasn't as deserving of love as someone else. But then, just as quickly, I'd remember the resilience of my mother, the strength of my sisters, my aunts, my friends, all of whom faced the same uphill battles with unwavering grace. And I realized that I was part of a legacy of strength, one that didn't need validation from anyone else. At the end of the day, we black women have survived, we've risen, and we've thrived in spite of a world that seems determined to hold us back. We've turned hurt into strength, betrayal into resilience, and oppression into power. And yes, we may not always get it right with each other, but even through the struggles and the misunderstandings, we find ways to lift each other up, to remind each other of our worth, our beauty, and our potential. Because the truth is, we are worthy of love, worthy of success, worthy of joy, just as we are. So I keep going, and every time I look in the mirror, I see all the shades of brown, all the strength, all the love that I carry within me. And I know, without a doubt, that there is a place in this world for me exactly as I am.